In this video, I talked to Alex Cooper from WP Eagle, and he's a good friend of mine. We've been sort of collaborating and talking about affiliate marketing for a couple years now, and he created a public case study, which is super cool. It's called Best Roof Box, and he's been creating videos on it and talking about the process, doing keyword research, doing like the content, hiring teams, outsourcing backlinks, all the stuff. So he's been covering it on his channel along the way. It's almost a year old, and I asked him if I could tear down his site. So number one, he said, yeah, you can do that. You can do a few videos. And I figured, hey, why don't we kick this off by just talking to Alex after he's been working on the site for almost a year, just to see what's been going on, what's been going well, what he wants to improve on. So that is what we're going to talk about. So I'm going to put a link in the description to the site so you can check it out, number one. I'm going to link up to the playlist that covers all the stuff for Best Roof Box so you can track Alex's progress along the way. It's super cool to see, you know, hey, I'm going to try something. He tries it, it works, maybe it doesn't work, but you get to follow along, and it's kind of like, well, it's kind of like reality TV, except for affiliate marketing. So anyway, without further ado, let's get to the interview with Alex from WP Eagle. Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here and my good buddy Alex Cooper from WP Eagle. How's it going?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for inviting me back.
Of course, it's always good to catch up and speak with you. You helped me out a bunch, and I thank you like when I was first getting started on YouTube, so thanks a lot.
No problem. I see that your channel's still growing strong.
Plugging along, we're doing what we can. trying to
That's it. You got to just keep going and give it time. It's all about effort and patience, and just plenty of that, and you'll be fine.
Indeed, in weathering the YouTube comments, the gauntlet, but you know what? We got thick skin.
You have to, I think. When you put yourself out there, you need to have quite thick skin, don't you?
So for the people that don't know you, Alex, who are you and what do you do? What's your channel about?
Okay, my name's Alex, as Doug's already said. My channel is WP Eagle. I've been doing YouTube for a few years now, and the channel originally started as a kind of WordPress tutorial channel, just looking at WordPress themes and plugins and how to make websites with WordPress, that kind of thing. And then it naturally progressed into affiliate marketing, which was an area that I was interested in anyway. And now the focus of the channel is kind of all around how to use WordPress as an affiliate marketing business builder, I guess is how you'd say it. So some popular content on my channel right now is around one of my affiliate marketing websites. It's called bestroofbox.com, which we're going to be talking about hopefully today. But basically, I created this website in a video back in March. I think it was around that time. Did a full-length tutorial video on how I created the site. And then since then, I've been publishing regular update videos on exactly what I've been doing to the site, all the work that I've been doing, all the content I've been adding. And I've also been sharing the results from the site, so the traffic numbers, the earnings, all that kind of thing. So hopefully people can follow along with what I'm doing and, you know, learn from my mistakes and learn from my successes and yeah, follow along.
Perfect.
And yeah, it's proven pretty popular.
Awesome. So at this point in time when we're recording it, the site is like roughly 11 months old or so, and it's doing pretty well. So we'll be sharing some of the revenue numbers right now, but like in the last, say, 30 days or so, like, can you tell us just like the traffic and revenue so people understand that it's actually making some money and doing all right?
Yeah, it's doing okay. I mean, the thing is, it's in the roof box niche, I should say. So that's the boxes that you put on top of your car when you need to travel with more stuff. And that's obviously probably quite seasonal. I'm guessing that most people invest in a roof box when they're thinking about going camping in the summer. But yeah, for the last 30 days, the revenue from Amazon has been around $250, and the traffic has been, I think it was around nearly 6,000 users, something like that, 5,900, something like that. But it has been growing month on month. So I'm just excited to see what's going to happen in the summer, really.
Very good. So we're going to kind of start at the beginning. And I'm curious because I personally don't share my own sites, and I try not to even share people in the audience. So if I do a live stream and someone's like, hey, will you look at my site? I usually tell them no, to try and protect them, because I mean, basically copycats are going to show up. People can do negative SEO. So Alex, why would you go public with this site? It's bananas.
I've not had any problems in terms of copycats. I've not seen any other roof box sites, but maybe there is. I don't think I've had any negative SEO. I think I would have spotted that. And the reason I feel that, you know, on YouTube especially, there is a lot of gurus out there. I don't know if they're all legitimate gurus or maybe some of them are fake gurus. I don't know. But there's a lot of gurus out there and they tell you a lot of stuff and they don't always show exactly, you know, what they've been doing. They'll tell you that they can help you make £1 million or whatever, and they'll often be standing in front of a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something like that. And I wanted to approach it from a different angle. I mean, I don't have anything to sell. I just really want to just share my story, and I'm hoping that my honesty and openness is what's going to, you know, differentiate me from the other guys that are out there, and that's why I want to be clear. And yeah, I've just been on a live stream right now. I've just literally finished, and yeah, people do share their sites with me, and I do bring them up on the screen, and we do look at them. And again, I've not heard of anyone that's had anything bad happen. I'm sure it does happen, but I don't know. I'm just not that paranoid, not that scared about it all.
Gotcha. And I was going to say, I've experienced the negative SEO and lost multiple 5 figures. So I am extremely sensitive to it, and I
yeah, I
commend
guess
you
once you've been burnt, you don't do it again. Maybe I'll learn the hard way. I will wait and see. But hey, if it happens, all I can say is all of this stuff is just great for me to create content around. And as a YouTuber, you need a fresh source of ideas, you know, daily, weekly. You need content. You need to keep creating content. And when stuff happens to me, like when my sites get hacked, when bad things happen to my sites, it's just a great story to tell on YouTube, and people really appreciate, you know, me sharing all that stuff. So if I do get a load of negative SEO, if someone does copy my site and rip it off, then I'll put it down as a lesson learned, but I'll obviously share the experience with my audience as well.
Indeed. I love it. And by the way, I commend you for doing it. I think it's great. I get requests for it like on a weekly basis, like to do a public case study. And I'm like, no. But probably eventually I will be worn down and I will do the same thing.
Yeah, I guess you'll have to just hope for the best and maybe choose one of your sites that isn't, you know, your biggest earner. I don't know.
Indeed. Yeah.
Who knows?
It provides that authentic feel, and people could follow along exactly week by week, month by month on what you're doing. So how did you choose that niche?
Well, I would like to say that it was very scientific and I did months and months of research to come up with it, but no, it was back just before last summer, I'd say back in March, just before then. And I was looking to go camping and stuff, and I wanted a roof box, and I was looking around, and I thought, oh, these there's a lot of products out there. It's quite confusing. There wasn't a lot of information out there. So I did a quick search on GoDaddy for some domains. I saw that bestroofbox.com was available. I thought that sounds like a great domain. And yeah, the rest is history. That's how I kind of fell into it.
Cool. And
I know that there are much better ways to choose a niche than that. But hey, sometimes you fall on your feet and you find a niche that seems to work. And this one does seem to be working quite well.
And I think it's great because I know personally, like my dad was trying to find a roof box because we did this big road trip last year. They joined me because I was driving to Alaska and we needed a roof box, and it was hard for him to find one that fit and get like an actual like understanding from the Amazon description and the specs. He really couldn't understand like what would work for his, and he has a super common Ford Explorer, one of the most popular like SUVs. There's a ton of them around. So there's definitely like some confusion around the products. So you actually got a roof box then, huh?
Yeah, I've got a roof box and it's great. And also it allowed me to kind of understand some of the problems, like how do you store a roof box in the winter? You know, how many suitcases can you fit in a roof box? And also just the more I dug into it, I thought from a content point of view, there's so much I can write about. For example, you mentioned, you know, the Ford Explorer or whatever. Basically, there's an article that needs to be written for every single type of car out there because people are searching on Google for what's the best roof box for a Ford Explorer? What's the best roof box for a Volkswagen Golf? What's the best roof box for whatever? So I just thought to my head, if I create articles around that, you know, and I was doing Google searches and there wasn't any articles coming up for each individual car, I just thought, you know, I'll be able to write content forever because there's so many cars. And then you start exploring different activities, which is another great angle that I think you can find within a product-focused site like mine, is all the applications for a roof box. So people that want to travel with their skis, with their camping equipment, with their snowboards, you know, the list goes on. So from a content point of view, I thought it'd be great because there's just so much you could write about that's all pretty much product focused, which I know is an interesting approach because a lot of people like to have more informational based sites, whereas this site is very product focused. And I think that's one of the reasons why it does quite well in terms of revenue, because it's not getting huge traffic numbers, but the traffic it does generate a reasonable amount of revenue from Amazon, and which, as we know, the commission rates are quite low. So yeah, I think it does well because the people that come to my site, they're looking to buy a roof box. They're in the market, they're ready to buy one. They just need a little bit of help in terms of deciding which one's the best fit for them and their vehicle or their sport or whatever they're using it for.
Excellent. So you chose best roof box, which is sort of the exact match keyword situation, which I literally advise people don't do that. You're painting yourself in a corner. So can you just, why did you pick something so specific? And you've already talked about how you can expand it based on activities. There was plenty of content because there's like an endless number of cars. But I mean, you could have said something a little bit more broad. I don't know what, but maybe like outdoor activities or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, it was an exact match keyword, and I was kind of hoping to rank for the keywords best roof box. I thought that would bring in tons of traffic, and in fact, the site does. It's page one for best roof box. It's somewhere in the middle of page one. I think it's just I was a little bit naive maybe when I was planning the site, and in hindsight, I probably wouldn't do that again. So I'm going to do another site soon because I love these projects, and this time I'm going to take a lot of the experience that I've learned from this site and all the advice that I've taken from people like yourself and other experts and guests that I've had on my channel that have come in and torn down my site, and they've all said, why on earth did you go for that domain name? Why on earth did you push yourself into a corner with a very specific product group? And my answer is because at the time I thought that's what I should be doing, and maybe going forward I'd probably go for something like roofboxadvisor.com or something that's a little bit more general and kind of explains a little bit more about what the website's about. But hey, you live and learn, and what I've learned is that actually if you do make mistakes at the beginning, it's not the end of the world. Your site can still do well, and you can carry on and be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the key, like always give yourself like the flexibility to grow if possible. And then if you don't, it's not a catastrophic mistake. I mean, you could change the domain name and then redirect a few things. Like it's just a technical problem, a fairly small technical problem. So,
and we all know that everyone's going to do more than one site, so you just know that for the next site it's going to be even better because of all the stuff that you learned on the site before, and they just keep getting better. And that's just, you learn your best lessons when you make mistakes, don't you? That's the you only really kind of learn by failing. You never learn anything if you get it right first time.
Indeed. Well, hopefully a couple of people will learn from the mistake that you made. So
yeah, and people learn from both of us. Our experience and mistakes. That's what they're learning from, and
yes,
we can share that with people.
So you were scratching your own itch in that you were doing research for roof boxes and other storage applications for your car. So as far as keyword research, how did you approach it? Like initially, like right when you were choosing, and then how are you approaching it now as you're thinking, hey, I'm going to expand content and all that stuff?
Back in the beginning, I was using a lot of keyword tools, just typing roof box in and getting a load of ideas. So Answer the Public was one that I used quite a lot. So just creating content around people's questions that people were searching for around roof boxes. But nowadays, I don't tend to use hardly any keyword tools. I just use Google generally, and just I'm typing stuff into Google. I'm seeing what related searches come up. I'm seeing what the questions Google is throwing up, and I'm just noting all them down. And then once you get all that laid down in front of you, you can start to naturally see opportunities for articles and for content and basically building it out from there. I've been using a new keyword service, which I'll quickly mention. It's called keywordcare.com, which was set up by one of my viewers and one of your viewers as well, I think, Carl. And that's for people that, you don't want to do any keyword research. You can just literally pay Carl, and he seems to have a great knack of identifying keywords that do rank really well. Of course, me and you, we did a big playlist on the keyword golden ratio a while back, and that used to be a big factor of mine. But nowadays, I've just been anything that's suggested in Google, I just tend to create content around it because I just need content all the time. So I did start by doing a lot of KGR stuff, but nowadays it's just literally, if I haven't got an article around that question that I've seen on Google, then I'll just create an article and hope for the best.
Sure.
And generally, I think because the site's got a little bit of authority now, it does tend to rank quite well. I mean, not for everything, but for a lot of those longer tail searches, it does seem to do quite well.
Cool. And for the people that want deeper analysis, I'm going to be doing a series of videos where I tear down best roof box with Alex's gracious permission, and I'll be analyzing some of the keywords and some of the other things like behind the scenes that maybe we're not going to talk about today because it's like the deep minutia, very detailed. So I'm going to be going into that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And so basically at this point you're like, you understand what keywords are going to work pretty well. Usually you're using the featured questions in Google. So you'll Google a term and then you'll see what questions people are asking.
Yeah, and then you can just keep clicking on that, and it just keeps giving you more and more questions forever. I think it doesn't ever run out. But yeah, so that's mainly what I've been doing. So they're
Okay.
very much response articles, I guess you'd call that. Are they called response articles, I think, where you're basically creating articles around people's questions.
Awesome. And do you have any like, I guess, epic successes by doing that? One where you just picked one out and now it's like one of your highest traffic kind of situations?
That's a good question, which I'm not prepared for. Let me have a quick look on my analytics. I've got it right here. I know a lot of them are ranking well, and they do kind of bring in traffic. I don't know. Let me just see what does bring in most traffic. And I've had some quite good luck with snippets, that kind of thing, by adding a nice image and by making sure that I bold up the answer to the question in the first couple of paragraphs. That's done really well. But yeah, let me just have a quick look at my thing.
Sure.
But while you're doing that, you can ask me another question.
Sure. Actually, I could just talk. So
Okay.
one of the cool techniques that I've branded the FAQ technique, which just means frequently asked questions. You literally do what Alex said and you hop over to Google, you put in a term, and there's now these featured questions, right? Common questions that go on endlessly. Some are a bit redundant and repetitive, but generally you can get a ton of ideas, and it's a great way to beef up almost any content for any kind of site because there's usually questions associated with them. And then you could add a few hundred words to any piece of content on your site. Very easy to outsource as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got the last 30 days. Interestingly, the homepage gets the most entrances, so people coming to the site. The second biggest page for entrances is an article that I wrote a while back, which was a buyer's guide for a roof cargo box for a Subaru Outback, which is a car that I've never seen because I think that's a car that's in America. By the way, my site is targeting US traffic. So again, a completely random car. I think to come up with my first ideas for articles around cars, I did a search for like the top 25 most popular cars in America because, you know, we have different cars. I'm in the UK and there's different cars in the US. And obviously the Subaru Outback must have been one of those. Creating an article around roof boxes for the Subaru Outback, and now it's the second most popular entrance page on my site, bringing in 430 people last 30 days. It's random. I mean, you would never probably be able to predict that. And again, I find that with content marketing and creating content is you just got to sometimes just throw as much at the wall as you can, and sometimes some of it sticks and does really well. And you would probably never be able to predict that there was a lot of people looking for roof boxes for a Subaru Outback. And indeed, there obviously isn't much other content out there that caters for that need. That's interesting. And then the next one is how to pack a roof box carrier. That also
Okay.
brings in a lot of people.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I'm chuckling on the inside because I live in Colorado now. I lived in Montana before. I have some family in like Pennsylvania, and anywhere where there is like potential for like slick conditions, some wintry conditions, Subaru Outbacks and all-wheel drive type cars are like hugely popular. Hugely
Yeah,
popular. They're everywhere.
they kind
So
of, I guess they're kind of reliable. They get you out of trouble if you get stuck somewhere, that kind of thing. So yeah, and obviously a lot of people want a roof box for them.
yeah, that's amazing. And the extent of my knowledge for like cars in the UK. Did you watch Mr. Bean?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
ever-
yeah.
So he drove that little Mini. So I assume you that's what you have. I'm not real
Yeah,
sure.
everyone in the UK has a Mini, of course. That's what we'll drive. No, I mean you have Minis over now in
We
the
do.
States.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
new
Yeah,
Minis,
yeah, of
which
course.
are obviously they're German now. We don't talk about that. But yeah, there's a lot of Minis here. Our cars are generally a lot smaller than your cars because our roads are generally a lot smaller. We have a lot of tight corners, and whereas from what I know from being to America, you have a lot of long straight roads that are straight for a long time. You don't really need to worry about going around too many corners. So yeah, the cars are different. But yeah, we all drive Minis over here.
Typical American. Okay, we can move on to content. So how many articles are on the site at this point?
Okay, we're up to about 85. I've got a few more in the queue at the moment. They're just being edited and being written and whatever. I'm trying to add maybe 5 every couple of weeks, something like that. It really depends on my workload and how quickly my writers can get stuff over to me. I've got a big list of stuff that I want written, It's just a case of getting it written and getting it edited. I only have one editor at the moment and one writer, so it's a bit slow. But yeah, just regularly putting the content out. I mean, I've got the ambition of maybe getting it up to 200, 300, 400 articles. I don't know, as big as I possibly can. As I said, there is limitless, really, ideas in terms of the content that I can produce around roof boxes.
Very good. And it sounds like most of them are sort of product focused. Do you know the percentage of like product versus informational type content?
I'd say it's probably at least 85% product focused.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool.
There are a few articles that aren't roof boxes reduced. I'm sorry, aren't roof box focused, but I'm just trying to see if any of them are performing well in my analytics. Not really, no. They are generally all product focused. They're buyer's guides, I'd say.
How long are most of the buyer's guides?
They're between 1,000 and 2,000 words, something like that.
Okay. And have you experimented with like shorter content under 1,000 or very long content, maybe over 3,000 words? Just curious.
Yeah, I've got a few that are short, maybe 500, 600 words. I've not got a couple of them, not got more than a couple of them. I've got a couple of long ones. I did a big guide on Thule, which is a big manufacturer of roof boxes. That seems to be doing okay, so I called that the ultimate guide to Thule roof boxes, because I noticed there are a lot of questions in Google all around Thule, like are they waterproof? How do they make them? How do you pronounce Thule? All those. Was it Thule or Thule? I don't know. So I thought I'd package all those questions together into one article and call it the ultimate guide. But yeah, that's like 14th on my list of content that's pulling in traffic. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's worth always investing in these longer articles. I don't know. I'm still kind of finding my feet, I guess.
Sure. And then, well, you sort of described like that particular ultimate guide. It sounded like you just did research on the questions and then answered those. Is that usually how you format such a guide, or was it that a one-off case?
That's normally how I'd approach it. Yeah, I'd see a lot of questions around a particular theme, and then I'd just use that as the subheadings within an article. So, yeah, I could have had maybe 4 or 5, 600-word articles, but I thought in that particular case, I'd just put them all together into one and see what happens. Because I was hoping that quite often you see when people do a search on Google with a question, sometimes it's not the main title of that article that comes up, but there'll be a hot link on Google or a quick link that jumps you straight to that question on that article. And that's what I was kind of hoping to get, that kind of that extra little link that you get on Google where it's got the article, but then it's got, skip straight to the answer to this question.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've achieved it on that article. I probably need to look into it a bit more detail. But yeah, it's bringing in some traffic and it seems to be doing the business.
Very good. Okay, so just to sort of wrap a couple things up before we move on to like your off-site SEO approach. So initially you had a bunch of keywords that you were kind of thinking of using keyword research tools. Then you kind of moved away from tools and realized, hey, there's so many long tails with questions. I'm going to focus on those. You have about 80 plus articles or so, and you have roughly 85% of those are product reviews. And before we move to the link building, as far as your team, so it sounds like you're not writing the content. What's your content team look like?
So my content team at the moment, I've just been outsourcing it to brokers. I don't even have my own writer. So there's a couple of companies out there that you just literally order your content, you give them some keywords, you give them what you want the article to be, you tell them how many words you want, and you pay them some money, and then they deliver an article. I know I need to do better at that. That's an area that I'm lacking, mainly because I just haven't got round to going through the process, which I know is quite a long process of actually finding my own writers. But I think, because the problem with using these guys, sometimes you get some articles and they're fantastic, they're well written, they're exactly the kind of tone and everything that you want. And then you put another order in and you get something completely different. And it's because, these companies have got whole teams of writers and you never know which one you're going to get. So that's something I want to do. In terms of my editor, I found a guy who actually, he contacted me through my channel. I think on one of my live streams, I was saying I could really do with someone to help me with publishing the articles because I want them to look nice. I want to add product tables. I want it, I want to find some videos on YouTube that are related and just kind of make the articles really rich. And I just didn't have the time and he popped up and said, I'll do it for you. And he's abroad. The rates are very good. And I've been getting a good relationship with him. So I have him who publishes all my articles. I get them back from the article creation company. I send them over to him with all my affiliate links and I do the imagery, so I send him over the featured image, I send him over a Pinterest graphic and any other images that I happen to want to include. So I've got an iStock subscription, so lots of nice stock photography. And then he lays it out, he does some more research, he puts all the products into a nice table, he finds any relevant YouTube videos that I can embed, and just generally makes the articles look really good. And he's done a fantastic job, and he's really well priced. So I'm really happy with that, and it's really kind of increased the productivity of the site. I'm able to get stuff up a lot quicker.
Sure. And thanks for not mentioning any of the specific content companies. I know it's always a challenge to like get good quality, and like you said, it goes up and down. I know you've had some struggles with some content companies, which you don't have to mention them specifically, but can you just, if you're willing to, can you talk about that a little bit?
If anyone who goes back through some of the videos on my channel will probably be able to see who that was. They're not around anymore, I don't think. But yeah, I found that content is a big area for a lot of people, and people were constantly asking me, who do you recommend for content? And I do have a couple of companies. I'm not going to mention them now. They don't even have affiliate programs. I just mentioned them because they're good. They're not paying me. But yeah, I had a lot of people asking me about content. So I actually thought about selling content services, which is what I did for a couple of months. But yeah, I found that the content I was getting was unreliable. I found it was difficult to communicate. It was just a complete nightmare. So I think ultimately the best bet, and you'd probably agree with this, is you find some writers that you can work with and stick with them and keep them happy and build a good relationship with them. And that's probably the best way to do it. But it's just that entire process of finding writers and hiring them and getting some good ones and getting your head clear in terms of what you want from a writer. And it's just, I haven't really had the time to sit down and do that. It's on my list of things to do, because again, I want to create a video around that entire process of I don't know if you've done one on this, where you basically document going onto Upwork, looking for writers, and just share the whole thing. That's what I'm looking to do, but I haven't got to that point yet.
So I've talked about the process of doing that, but I haven't like gone into Upwork and done all the details like in a public fashion. I have shared that in some capacity elsewhere. I do have a student who, she actually followed my process, wrote a just killer guest post on my site. I paid her for it. It wasn't really a guest post. And if you follow it, it will crush. It works really well. And I think she published it was 89 articles in 90 days or something like that, where she published just like a ton of content and hired all the people from Upwork, went through the process. So I'll send you that link. I'll put a link in the description for anyone. But yeah, if you follow it, like it works. I've done it. She improved on my process, and then she's done really well with it.
But there must be a bit of burn of writers. I don't know if that's the right word, where you hire lots of people, but then you also have to fire quite a few of them as well because they're just not delivering. I don't know, the right tone, the grammar's not good, or and all the other things. Yeah, or they flake out. Is that? I guess that's the thing, because the other thing is you want to create all this content, but you don't want to spend too much, do you? You want good quality articles at the lowest possible price, otherwise, it comes up. And I guess that that's the thing. With all these kind of sites, there's an investment, and people need to know that there's an investment, and it's going to be time or it's going to be money, whatever you've got most of, I guess.
Oh yeah, and for me, I found the success and failure rate about 50%. So if I needed a team of 5 writers, I'd have to hire 10. Now, I just chatted with someone who's publishing a lot of content over the past year or so, Morton, which I'll put a link to the video whenever it does come out. But he has about 10 or 11 writers at this point in time. And he said he had to go through about 100. I'm not sure if it was hyperbole or if that was it sounded like the real number, but he has a pretty solid team, and he has a content manager / editor who handles a lot of the stuff that you were talking about with your editor. And it took a lot of time. So I was going to say, if you're happy with the services, just stick with the services, because there's no, like you said, it takes time or it takes money. So right now you're paying a lot more for the admin, and you just deal with probably one project manager or something.
Yeah,
that's much easier. You're a busy dude. You don't want to sit in Upwork all day.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. If you've got your own writers, I'd probably need to hire someone to actually manage all the writers, and it adds a different. I guess it depends where you want to take it and what your focus is. I say my focus, this is a bit of a side project for me. My main focus is the YouTube channel and all the stuff to do with that. So yeah, I don't know, but it's something I want to do because a lot of people ask me all the time, how do you find good writers? How do you get good content created? And that's the key. That's the lifeblood of all these sites, isn't it? It's the content. You got to keep adding good, fresh, well-written, useful content.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's go to link building. So what's your approach for any sort of offsite SEO?
My approach has been a little bit scattergun. I've tried lots of different things. So I've used the Hoff, which I know you've mentioned a few times, and I don't know. The site is ranking well and organic traffic is growing. It's very difficult, I think, to measure and to gauge how well these things work. So yeah, I spent some money on the Hoff. I went and I paid $500, in fact, for one of their links. And it seems like a pretty good link, and it brings a bit of traffic, and it's on a nice site that's really busy and that kind of thing. So I've done that. I've done a few bits of guest posting. However, that's been probably a bit easier for me because of the YouTube channel. So a lot of people share their sites with me. And if I see that they've got a site, say, for example, on camping, on skiing, on anything to do, on fishing, I don't know, anything to do with a roof box, I'll say, I'll create an article for your site. Is that cool? And they'll say, yeah. So for the fishing site, I'll send over an article on the best roof box for a fishing rod. And they've been accepting it. So that I've been doing some guest posting that way. Obviously, it's a lot harder in the real world. You'd have to do some outreach and that kind of stuff. I did a bit of YouTube. Again, I went to the Hoff and they created some videos for me. On hindsight, those videos are not the best, maybe. Basically, I just gave them some of my articles and said, can you turn this into a video? Which they did. And it's a guy presenting it, and there's some B-roll footage in there. I don't know how much value that's brought in. And I've done a lot of Pinterest. So pretty much every article has a little pin image on it. And I make sure that I pin that to Pinterest for the link. It doesn't bring in a lot of traffic, but I'm sure those Pinterest links are worth something, aren't they? I don't know.
I think maybe just a tiny bit if they're bringing in traffic, because they're going to be a no follow link.
Yeah.
But if they're bringing in traffic, well, that has its own like intrinsic value. But if the problem is anyone can create as many Pinterest links as they want, so the value goes down.
Yeah, they're not that valuable, I guess. No. Oh, and the other thing I guess I should say is I did quite a bit on Quora. And other question and answer sites. So when I was doing searches around some of my articles, when people were searching for what's the best roof box for a Subaru Outback, if I saw a Quora question come up that was similar or the same, I would then answer it and offer a pretty good answer, a quite in-depth answer, and then get a link back to the site. And a lot of them are stuck. Actually, they've stuck quite well. The Quora question would often outrank my site. But then within that answer, there would be a link back. And generally the answer would be like the top answer or one answer that was near the top. And I don't know what your experience has been with those question answer sites. A lot of my viewers have found it quite difficult to get any traction there. But I think with those question answer sites, as long as you deliver some valuable information in your answer, then there's no reason why it shouldn't stick. And you can always reference back to your site in terms of where you got the information from.
Cool.
Do you use any Quora stuff or any of that?
I don't, and I've heard it can be effective, and I think if you had the right approach like you're talking about, where you actually were answering a real question, and to your point before about the nearly endless number of questions like, does X roof box fit this car?
Yeah.
And there's multiple versions of cars where it's like, I don't know what the Outbacks are like, but for the various trim lines, you may have a different, slightly different size for the specific roof rails to actually install the roof rack. So those tiny things were like 1 inch off, or the mounting bracket could be a major issue. Again, I understand the perils and the difficulty of like getting a roof box because there's all these little details like.
Yeah, and every car's different. And do they have roof bars or do they have the side runners? And if you've got a panoramic roof, all these kind of things. Yeah, there's loads of cars that you can talk about. And so there's loads of questions on Quora about these things. And, how can I reduce the noise of my roof box? And can I use my roof box when it's empty? And how do you store a roof box? Which then kind of led on to these other products that I didn't know were available. You can get a whole load of hoists and other bits of kit that you can put into your garage to store your roof box. So, I create loads of content around them and they're doing pretty well.
Oh,
But
so,
I
okay.
found that the question and answer sites have been a good place to quite quickly build up a few links.
Gotcha. And do you know how much traffic is coming in through Quora, or is there any traffic coming through Quora?
Probably let's have a look.
Okay.
Yeah, I got free visits from Quora last 30 days, so maybe that's not a great example. But I just think I don't know if the links are a follow or no follow or whatever, but it's just something that I did to build up some links and
Yep.
see doing well. The other, yeah, that's about it. I think in terms of link building, I don't know how important link building is. I mean, you need to have a few, obviously, but I think when you're writing articles about stuff that there isn't much out there already, and Google sees your site and there's no black marks against your site, you haven't done anything wrong. There's no reason why you still can't rank really well without too many backlinks. I
I,
think.
I mean, that's the whole keyword golden ratio concept,
Yeah,
find things that aren't served well that maybe people are looking for. So,
yeah. And then that way you don't need too many links, do you?
yep.
Because
And
links are hard to get. They are hard to get, and they do naturally occur over time, but they're not the easiest thing to do. And if you in any way try and manipulate your link building by buying links or doing anything like PBNs or anything, you really do run the risk of just it all going wrong in the future when Google cotton on to what you're doing.
sure.
So you just got to be so careful with it, haven't you?
So, moving on to Google. Good segue, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, the sandbox. A lot of people say there's a Google sandbox at about 6 months, and I've heard there's one at about 12 months. So, you're not at 12 months yet, but did you see a little uptick over 6 months?
Interesting you should say that. Let me just have a quick look. I know that it was around the 6 months mark that I had an issue with revenue. The site started strong. I think 3 or 4 months in, we started earning some quite good revenue from Amazon, and then it just dipped around August, September time, and I put it down to seasonality. But yeah, my traffic around September and October, it did dip a bit. I don't know if that was a Google Sandbox or anything like that. I was still getting traffic from Google. And then in December, in fact, end of November, 28th of November. Now, I don't know if this was Sandbox or something else, but I switched my plugin from Yoast SEO to Rank Math, which I'm sure you're familiar with. It's a fairly new, really good SEO plugin for WordPress. And since then, traffic has gone up a lot more quickly. And like all these things, it's so hard to put it down to whatever that was. Was it because I changed the plugin? Was it because I've come out of a Sandbox? Because end of November is, kind of nearly 6 months, maybe a little bit more. Was it just because of all the effort I've been doing is it starting to pay off? I don't know. It could just be a coincidence. I don't know.
Yep. And I think, I mean, usually that's what people say. They're like, hey, I've been doing like 8 things that probably should help. And then after 6 months, like good things seem to, and sometimes it's 6 months to the day, like where people are like, holy cow, there's truly a sandbox. And sometimes it's a little bit off. And I kind of believe there's something to it. And I kind of believe it's related to when you started publishing content on a sort of regular basis, or at least like publish like 10
Yeah.
articles or something.
Because when do they take that start date from? I mean, looking at it, it's longer than 6 months. It's maybe 9 months after I launched, but
Sure.
probably it might be 6 months after I started really regularly posting content on a regular basis. Because when I launched the site, there was a few articles on it, and I didn't do too much with it. I was busy working on the tutorials and all that kind of stuff. So who knows where they take that date from.
Yep.
I haven't had the problem of being stuck with a brand new domain. I hear that's often a problem where you register a new domain and it's hard to get that moving for a few months. But I've
Yep.
not noticed that.
And I think, another thing in play is just the ongoing Google algorithm updates, which I think there were several each month at the tail end of 2019. So you may have benefited from the
A
sandbox.
change, yeah.
It could have been the algorithm update. So have you observed anything else on like those specific dates where algorithm updates were rolled out? Did you notice anything?
No, I mean, I guess if I dug into it and tried to map it, I've not really been following it. I mean, definitely, you see in your analytics, suddenly something happens and it shoots up. And again, I don't know what that is. I can't put it down to any one event. But I think
Okay.
with all these algorithm updates, as long as you, again, just create good content, useful information, you're trying to help your visitors solve a problem, which is, what an affiliate marketing site is all about. It's helping someone make a purchase. I always see it as that a lot of people that come to my site, they do want to buy a roof box, they just don't know which one, and I've just got to hold their hand and guide them to the right product. As long as you do that and you don't do anything sneaky and you don't do anything a little bit untoward, I think you'll be fine, regardless of what Google do to the algorithms. In fact, it should benefit you, because Google just want to serve good quality content to their users.
And I think I wish it was that simple. I was because I was gonna say, like,
I've probably simplified it a bit there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen so many where it's like a site that has constantly grown for a while, whether it's some of mine or other people's, and they're getting a lot of traffic. Some of these sites that I know of, and an update will come and they drop by 20%, and then another algorithm update comes and they go back higher than what they were, and then they go back down, and it's like
there's no rhyme or reason, and what they haven't done anything particularly sneaky, or there's no black hat going on, and the content's good, I guess.
It's like I said, some of these are really big, super high quality. All the things that we talk about for white hat outreach or like social signals, in that there are like natural shares and links coming from Facebook, Pinterest, YouTube video. Like it's real brands, and they get hit. So I agree in theory. Yeah, if you do good content, you'll be okay. But sometimes, like, there's some funny stuff going on where no one really knows. It's super complex these days.
Yeah, so it is, and it's kind of scary, I guess, in some ways. But
yeah,
got to keep going and hope you pull through the other side.
Indeed. So, any mistakes or things that you've learned aside from like the domain name, because we already covered that, but any other big things where you're like, hey, if I could give someone advice that's maybe starting a site, maybe they're going to follow along with your playlist that we'll be sharing, any overall tips?
I think just be careful where you spend your money in terms of buying other people's services. We mentioned a few tonight in terms of like link building or video production. I probably wouldn't do that again if I was going to create videos. It's just not good quality content. Going back to it again, if I just give someone one of my articles and say make a video about it, when you think about it, that's not going to be great content. Good content would be for me to go out in the garden with my camera, get the roof box out, walk around it, talk about it, say how I fit it on whatever, why I chose this one, how much I can get in it, whether it's waterproof, all these kind of things. That would be a good video. So I think sometimes you try and look for quick wins and ways. I'd rather spend money than time, just because I'm very time poor, and I try and look for these shortcuts. Like, oh, great, I could just pay someone to create my videos, and I could set up a roof channel, YouTube channel, and it'd be fine. No, it's not, because it's just a waste of money, and those shortcuts, they're not delivering any good value. It'd be better for me to spend some time and do that. So, yeah, I'd just be more careful in terms of what I spent my money on. And again, buying links and which they're not links, they're actually buying guest posts through the Hoff and places like that. I'd probably be a bit more careful with that as well, and just try and select some very specific places that I'd want to get placement. But other than that, I don't think I've made any major mistakes apart from maybe the domain name.
Which, I mean, it's working out fine, and it's very clear what the site is about. But yeah, usually when someone says, hey, if I found an exact match keyword, I'm usually like, maybe find something more broad. But yeah, it's going fine, man.
Yeah, and they still kind of rank a little bit for, I don't know how. Back in the old days, it used to be great. If you get that exact match keyword domain name, you'd be number one within a week, wouldn't you?
It was
you
crazy.
Put some content up. Yeah. So yeah, I'd probably just be more careful about that. Maybe focus more on kind of a brand idea. So something like, I say, Roofbox Advisor or the Roofbox Experts or something like that. That it doesn't sound quite so affiliate website as bestroofbox.com, but hey,
sure,
you live and learn.
Yeah, and I mean, the other thing is, like, we're in this world of affiliate marketing, and we see it all the time, day in, day out. We're getting emails about it, all that stuff, and normal people in the world, they don't know about this stuff. Like, they think it's just a website that has great information. So.
Exactly. That's what you can do.
Awesome. So, where can people find you, Alex? You got the YouTube channel, you got a blog. Where do you want people to go?
Well, so Doug has kindly said he'll share a link to my playlist. just go check that out. It documents absolutely everything to do with the site, everything I've done to the site. I don't know, there's maybe 20 or 30 videos in there now, including all the earnings, which have been up and down a little bit, and you can see exactly what's going on. You'll also be able to see videos on all the services that I've tried out, like the Hoff and how that went. Go check that out. That's on my YouTube channel. I do try and upload every single week. I do go live every week as well. It'd be good to see you in the chat, and we'll have a chat. And you can also find everything over at wpeagle.com, which is my website, it's just basically all my YouTube channels, but on a website.
Awesome. Always a pleasure to catch up with you, Alex. And as you mentioned, we'll put links in the description so people can get to your playlist, your channel, your website, all the good stuff.
Thanks for having me. All right. See you soon.